Hello there, Tampa Bay, and welcome to Tampa Bay Community Network Sports Talk. I'm your host, Coach Chuck White, and my guest is the Olympic track star, Ray Robertson. He ran in the 1972 Olympics, and that was back in Munich, Germany. And he ran in such event as the 100 meters, and the world record was 1.95 seconds, and he tied that world record at the Olympic trials. We're going to be talking about many outstanding things about this superstar, Ray Robertson. So, first of all, let me just say to him, Ray, welcome to the show.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be here, Coach.
Well, it's not often we get to have Olympic track stars like you, and I know our viewers and our listeners going to really enjoy this show.
So, yeah.
I just like to start off by having you tell them where you were born and where you were reared, and we'll just keep going from there.
Okay, great. I was born in a Polk County place called Fort Meade, which is about 60 miles from here. From there, my family, we actually moved to Lakeland, and I graduated from Lakeland Senior High School.
Okay, well, you know, when we're coming up or growing up, many times we get on the sandlot areas or the streets or the school yards or open fields, and we do what we call sandlot things. Why we call them sandlot is just not really into varsity or organized sport. So did you come up doing anything in the street like stickball?
Oh yeah. Well, you said stickball. We played that too. We call it rubber ball at the time, but it was stickball. We had a broom handle and a rubber ball and stuff, and we played in the streets. And we did a lot of activities. One of the reasons that I, fell in love with track was because of the Sandlock events. We had actual track meets when I was living in Fort Meade. That we actually ran around the city block, and we pretended it was a track. And
wow.
And I used to run against the older guys and girls, and I found out that I was
girls too.
Oh yeah, we all ran together. And it was some girls that were pretty fast, I tell you.
Yeah.
But eventually I found out that I had a gift for speed, and that's what got me interested in track and field.
Now, did you have people out there in the neighborhood watching you doing that?
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to add here, one of the reasons, I'm a retired school teacher, Hillsborough County school teacher, and one of the reasons that I wanted to become a school teacher is because one of the teachers at the school that I attended, he was very involved with our activities, after-school activities, weekend activities. He's one of those teachers that'll come in and try to motivate you or tell you what you're doing wrong or make you do the right thing. He was very inspirational. His name was Gerald Thomas. And I admired that man, and he's the one that really, gave me a pat on the back when I was in that, doing that Sandlock stuff.
Well, after you went through all the little sandlot and street sports and all that, did they ever come up with any injuries, or was anybody out there? When I used to play, you get injured, and I would sneak in the back door and let my mother know I was hurt. And my sister used to work. Anything ever happened to you like that?
Oh yeah, you don't want to come home hurt enough because your mom always stopped playing, and stuff, and you never wanted that to happen. But, I was kind of lucky. I got a few bruises and stuff when I was playing and stuff, but nothing serious that would, make my mom tell me to stop.
Well, when was it that you stopped playing in the street and maybe you got on some coaching team, team that was where they was giving you a little bit of coaching?
Right.
Probably in junior high.
Junior high school, yeah, absolutely.
Talk about that a little bit.
Okay, well, my first organized sport was football, of course.
Okay.
And I played at Fort Meade High School. I played on the JV football team.
All right.
I played running back and defensive back corner. I played in my ninth grade. It was junior high. I went to ninth grade at that time. So I played football at Fort Meade, ninth and 10th grade. Got moved up to varsity, and that's all I played, just football at the time until I moved to Lakeland. I was going back and forth from Lakeland to Fort Meade doing my my adolescent years and stuff. So I was kind of switched between both those schools, Fort Meade and Rochelle.
Well, you know, many of the African American kids found a way to do something with their time when they didn't have a pocket full of money, and they would go out on the playground and shoot hoops, what they call basketball.
Right.
Did you do anything like that?
I tell this a story. If it wasn't for basketball, I wouldn't have been able to run track. Okay. I had a basketball coach when at my senior year in high school. I didn't run track until my senior year. And when I finished football, I had a very successful football career in high school. I was getting scholarship offers. So the next thing was basketball season.
Okay.
And so I went out for basketball, and the coach gave me, since I did so well in football, he gave me the shoes, he gave me the jersey and everything, and said, all right, you go be on the basketball team. So about the first 2 or 3 days of basketball practice, he pulled me to the side. He said, hey, I think the track coach was looking for you. And I said, oh, yeah. He said, yeah, why don't you go see what he wants? I said, well, I could do this after practice. He said, no, you don't have to do it after practice. You can go right now. He said, by the way, Ray, let me have my shoes. Yeah. So, of course, I couldn't play basketball, so I went out for track in my senior year in high school, and it was the best thing that ever happened.
Well, what events did you run from starting in your first day of track up until your senior year? What events did you run, or what events did you run during your senior high? What all events you were involved with at that
Okay,
time?
in high school, I participated in the 100-yard dash at the time. They weren't running
100,
meters.
not 40.
No, not 40, but they were running the 100-yard dash instead of 100 meters. I ran the 220-yard dash, and I ran the 440-yard dash. That's one complete time around the track. And, of course, I participated in the relays.
Now, can you think back on some of the coaches that coached you?
Yeah. Terry Long, Coach Terry Long introduced me to track and field. I was kind of blessed because Terry Long he graduated from Florida State University. He ran track at Florida State University.
Okay.
He was a college All-American in the hurdles, and his dad was the head track coach at Florida State.
Yeah.
So it was, I ran into someone who introduced me to track that knew track and field and knew how to coach. So I was lucky about that, and he found out that the sprints was my event. And I was undefeated in high school in the 100-yard dash my senior year.
Undefeated? You never lost to me?
Never lost a 100-yard dash.
Wow. That's saying something.
After I went all the way up to the national championship in California, and I won the 100-yard dash and the 220-yard dash out in Sacramento, California, the Golden West. And I was the outstanding athlete, and I almost tied the world's record in the 100-yard dash at that meet.
You just been fast for a long time. You just grew up being
and didn't
fast.
know it.
didn't know it.
No.
People had to tell you. Well, let me ask you this. How did you feel when you were leaving not only Tampa, not only Florida, but going up to those national meets? Did you feel like you had a chance, or you felt like you were running against some superior guys, or what?
Of course, yeah. A lot of the guys that I ran against were nationally known.
Yes.
Due to the fact they had been running track all through high school. And for me, that was my first year, my senior year. And I had heard about these guys. I actually saw some on TV.
Yeah.
And here I am running against them now. And it was very enlightening. It was very humbling. And it proved to be very successful. It was an adventure, Coach.
What kind of awards did you receive at that meet?
At the national high school meet, they called it the Golden West. It was proclaimed the premier meet for high schoolers, I won the 100-yard dash, the 220-yard dash, and I got the Outstanding Athlete Award. And one of the things that made that put the icing on the cake, the honorary referee at that meet that actually presented the MVP award to me was Bob Hayes.
Wow, Bullet Bob Hayes.
Bullet Bob Hayes. And I consider one of the fastest human that ever lived.
Yes, sir, he was.
Absolutely. And to see him at that meet and present the award to me, I mean, right now I'm just thinking about it, just gave me chills.
I was thrilled just to get a chance to meet Bob Hayes myself. My wife and I, we became very close friends to Bob Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
And when we go up to Florida A&M to the football games or whatever event, we would see Bob there many
Mm-hmm.
times, and we would join each other and talk about some of the things that happened during his time in college and
Right.
how he did with Coach Jake Gaither.
Oh, yeah, Coach Gaither, yeah.
Yeah. What kind of contact did you ever have with Coach Gaither? Was he still there?
Well, of course, you know, I went to Florida A&M University. I received a track athletic scholarship. I ran track and played football at Florida A&M.
Okay.
When I went to Florida A&M University my freshman year, Coach Gaither was the athletic director.
Okay.
And
And head football coach?
No, he had just
had quit?
retired,
Yeah.
from football coach the year before I got there. But he still had a lot of influence with
Oh,
the football,
yeah, Jay Gaither.
football program, of course. And I met him my second day at Florida A&M University. And well, you know, that was just, you know, you see a legend in live and in living color. It was just, I was speechless.
Now, when you met Bob Hayes, he was the honorary.
He was the honorary referee at that particular
Okay,
meet. He was
yeah.
playing with the Dallas Cowboys at the time.
Football team.
Yeah, and they invited him to be the honorary referee at
Yes.
that meet at that particular time.
That was something. I guess that was a big drawing card to have
yeah.
Bob Hayes
Oh
there
yeah,
doing that.
oh yeah.
And did you do more than just meet him and shake his hand? Did
Yeah,
he talk?
yeah. We at that time I hadn't signed a scholarship anywhere. I had a lot of offers. I was doing a lot of visits to a lot of universities, as you can imagine. And when we got ready to get on the plane the next day to head back to Florida from Sacramento, I flew with him on the plane.
You
all the
lo
way
and behold, you were sitting next
from Sacramento to Dallas. We did a layover in Dallas, and I had the opportunity to sit with him on the plane. So by the time I got to Lakeland, back home, well, you know where I was going to college. He told me I was going to Florida A&M University, and that following day I signed a scholarship to Florida A&M.
Well, now, did he give you any advice about how to start or whatever?
Yeah. Well, during the years that I was at Florida A&M University, especially my freshman year and my sophomore year, Bob would come to FAMU from time to time, do different events for the university and the athletic department, and he would come to some of my track sessions, and he would actually work with me on certain techniques coming out of the blocks and, you know, actually running down the track.
Man, I see how you got to be as great as you were at that time, because you had some great people doing things for you.
Right.
Now, when you got a scholarship to Florida A&M, I believe the coach at that time was Coach Munyon, Robert Bob Munyon.
Well, Coach Munyon was there. Coach Munyon was the tennis coach and assistant football coach, but my coach was Coach Bobby Lang.
Oh, yeah, Bobby Lang.
Bobby Lang was the football coach, offensive line coach, and he was the head track coach at Florida A&M. He's the one that actually signed
I
and gave
had
me the
that
scholarship.
kind of twist up a little bit.
Yeah, but they all
were there together, I
yeah.
know, and they played football.
Right.
I was up in school with Coach Lang.
Yeah, he was a freshman
Munyon.
in your senior year, he told me.
Munyon was my frat brother.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had some ups and downs with him, and I hope.
Well, I knew about you before while I was at FAMU. I knew about you before I even met you, you know, because you was a legend at FAMU yourself. So I knew about
I did
about
the best I could.
Well, you did a great job.
Well,
They still talk about
let me ask you this now. Did Coach
Lang?
Lang, yeah, thank you. Did Coach Lang ever meet you prior to coming there? Did he ever see you run, or did he ever come to your house?
Coach Lang, I met Coach Lang at one track meet in high school. I was at the Florida Relays in Gainesville, and he came down to Florida Relays along with Florida A&M University. They ran in that meet, and we didn't have too much of a conversation. Everybody thought I was going to Florida State because my coach and his father was the head track coach at Florida State.
Bob Hayes, I talked to him.
Yeah, he kind of, between him and my dad, yeah. My father was a FAMU fan from day one. He always talked about Florida A&M University, so when the opportunity came to get a scholarship to Florida A&M University, well, you know, he was all for it.
So he told you he bled orange and green, huh?
That's right, he sure did.
Well, that's what I told my daughters. My daughters were talking about a lot of schools here, there, and elsewhere and all. And they wanted me to, what I thought about this school, and this one says so and so. And they went, I said, well, I'll tell you what. Both of you girls can go whatever school you want. I'm not going to hold you up, but I'm going to tell you one thing. My money will be going to Florida A&M.
Right.
Literal. And my grandson went there, and I had to give him the riot act about where my money was going, because this guy from Colgate just lived in our house and lived on the track. And some other guys was coming by and all that. So he was excited about the out of town. You know, people seem to feel something away from them is better than...
Right, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, they feel that way most, but it's not. We have some of the best things around us and don't even know it.
Right.
Well, I had to tell him too. I said, that word Colgate, it is cold
up there.
And when you go be playing football and get down on that ground.
It's snowing.
Yeah. And when he went up there, it was in the summer. But then after he started hearing about Colgate, I think he went back and he saw the cold. He said, Papi, I think I made up my mind. I said, you going to Colgate? He said, no, I'm going to Florida. I said, good. I said, good. That's where my money will be going.
Right. Well, you know, I was kind of lucky. My daughter, one of my daughters, Raven, she went to Florida A&M University, and she ran track at Florida A&M. And it was easy because she grew up at FAMU when I was coaching up there.
Well, we didn't say anything about how you signed or how did you get there. Did anybody from Florida A&M come down to sign you, or they waited till you got there? How did all this happen?
Yeah, when I got back from my trip from California running the Golden West, that next morning, Coach Lang was at my doorstep along with one of the Polk County school administrators that went to Florida A&M University. He was an alumni, and they were there that morning, and it was already, my daddy had already made plans for me to sign. So once I got back, they had a signing ceremony at our house.
And all this hit the newspaper.
Yeah.
Now, when you were running in high school, did you have any of the neighborhood or your family members come out?
Yeah, I had a lot of kids in my family. My cousin Woody Collins, and my cousin Alan Johnson. We were kind of like the athletes of the family and stuff. And I had a lot of kids that I grew up with. I knew from day one, Glenn Lofton, Philip White. I could go on with a lot of these guys that actually were better athletes than me.
Okay.
And they went on to continue their athletic career and college career, and they were very successful. And we had Fort Meade in Lakeland. We had a lot of Archie Denson, Kenny White. We just had a lot of guys that I played with that were just tremendous athletes, and they were motivating, and it was just a great bunch of guys. Freddie Johnson was just a great bunch of guys to be with.
What about your parent, mother and father?
Well, my mother, thank God she's still living. She lives in Rochester, New York.
Okay.
My dad passed away some 20 years ago. My dad was a Negro League baseball player.
Okay.
He played in the Negro League for about 20-some years.
You mind telling the audience's name?
His name is Booker T. Robinson. They call him Booker Little Book Robinson. That was his,
Book.
yeah, and he was known for stealing bases. Isn't that something?
Okay, wow, fast.
And yeah, he was a super athlete and stuff and everything. And I guess I got picked up some of his traits and everything. And he was
one of those same genes.
Yeah. He wanted me to be a baseball player, but you know, I decided to play football and run track.
Did you ever have any problems with your coaches not wanting you at football, or your coaches not wanting you at track, or how did they see? They encourage you to do both, or what?
Every coach that Coach White, every coach that I had, I've been coached by 3 different men that I still respect today. Coach Terry Long, who was my high school coach. Coach Bobby Lane, who was my collegiate coach. And when I ran professional track, Coach Brooks Johnson. And a lot of people out there that know track and field know Brooks Johnson. He actually coached Justin Gatlin, still coaching now. Those are the only 3 men that ever coached me. And I never had a problem. We never had a problem with communication. I did what they asked me to do. And they were very respectful, and they were all in my corner.
We didn't say too much about, we didn't say anything about your professional track and all that. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, as we know as professional track, we called it the tour back then. Once I graduated from Florida A&M, I had the opportunity to try with the Miami Dolphins. That was not successful. So I went back to running track, and we had what we call a tour. We would tour Europe, and we would run. And you would basically get expenses and stuff to take care of yourself, but they were very, very good expenses and stuff. I mean, you could run track, you could make a living, you know, just running track and stuff. And I did that for several years, from age 22 to about age 28. Then I decided after my 3rd Olympic trial, I decided to stop running track and got to get into coaching.
In order to get to the Olympics, what did you have to do to get there?
Well, first, this is, and it's still this way today, the Olympics, you have to have a qualifying time to go to the Olympic trials. It's held once every 4 years. When I went to the Olympic trials in 1972, I was ranked number 2 in the world in the 100-yard dash, in the 100 meters. I made the invitation to get to the Olympic trials. And during the Olympic trials, I tied the world's record in the 100-meter dash twice, in my semifinals and my finals. And I tied for first place in the finals of the 100-meter dash in the Olympic trials in 1972, and that's how I made the Olympic team.
Something unusual, and it was unusually bad, that I had heard about. I never read it or saw it on TV or computer, but I had heard people say that you went to one Olympics and you were scheduled to break everybody's record and whatever and have it outright your own record. But something happened where the time was misconstrued with your coach getting a different schedule.
Right. Well, that's gonna probably be my legacy, legacy coach. You know, a lot of people remember that event in the 1972 Olympics. Everybody remember when the Arabs invaded the Olympic Village and they massacred the Israeli athletes. It was a tragic event. And during that time period, the Olympic Committee, the International Olympic Committee, decided to move some of the events around to try to keep the crowd down and also to try to keep a lot of commotion down during that time, during that terrorist time period. One of the events that they changed was the 100-meter dash and the 10,000-meter dash, the 10,000-yard run, 10,000-meter run. So they had called a meeting, and for all the Olympic coaches to come to the meeting, and they made the time change.
Wow.
And they ran the 100 meters before the 10,000 meters.
Was that always usually?
No, they usually run the 10,000 meters and then come back and run the second round of the 100.
This time they did it different.
Yeah, because they want to get a lot of people out of the stands during that time period. You know, you got the 100 meters, everybody there to see the 100 meters, but when you run the 10,000 meter, the fans kind of leave a little bit. So they were doing that for crowd control. Unfortunately, from what we were told, our sprint coach, Dan Wright, missed that meeting.
Wow.
So he was still operating on the old schedule. So when we ran the first round of the 100 meters that morning, we went back to the Olympic Village, and we scheduled ourselves to come back to the Olympic Stadium to run the second round of the 100 meters, which they had changed. Oh. So when we realized the change was made, and the coach realized that we were not at the stadium, well, everything broke loose. And we had a frantic trip, which was a mile from the stadium. By the time we got there, myself and the other guy who tied the world's record in the 100-meter dash, Eddie Hart, they had ran our qualifying round. And it was one guy left, Robert Taylor, who came in third in the Olympic trials. I actually had a chance to run and advance to the finals of the 100-meter dash at the Olympics.
That was tear-bringing there.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
That's
it took
a sad
a lot.
thing, and I guess you try not to think about it too much.
Well, you know, over time, with a lot of help, especially when I had 2 more years to go at FAMU.
Oh, wow.
I was a sophomore when I made the Olympic team, so when I got back to Tallahassee, I had a lot of support from my coaches and teammates and family members that helped me get over that.
Well, that's great.
Right.
You've been a real great athlete at FAMU. You've been a great human, and it's nice to know that you went back and try to help track people by coaching track. I wish we had more time to talk about it, but I see our engineer saying our time is just about up. But before we leave, there are many people viewing. Tell the parents and some track stars out there what you think they should do to become great in track.
Well, the things I would say right now, for you young athletes, go out there and practice, do the best you can. Don't never let nobody tell you what you can't do. Parents, be mindful, especially if your kids are in high school. Be mindful of their academics, their behavior. Make sure they get a lot of practice on that SAT, because that's very important. Do well in class. Listen to your coaches, and just be a good person.
Well, Ray, I want to say thank you for being here. We really enjoyed it, and they got much for it. So to those who are listening out there, I want to say that's it for the Tampa Bay Community Network Sports Talk. So be with us on our next show right here on the Tampa Bay Community Network.